Proven Growth Performer Rankings is a very unique study. You know, many of us see out there the annual studies that the various publications about how banks perform over a given year. So we wanted to do a little bit deeper study of looking at banks over a larger or a longer period of time. So we did the Proven Growth Performer study over a 5-year period. We had a very stringent requirements, and naturally, since we are here at the Growth Conference, we wanted to also have that growth requirement. So very unique study. We whittled down, the 6,000 plus institutions across the country down to 58 institutions. And then, of course, we broke down what made those 58 institutions very different. We have a number of top performers that made lists. It's hard to single out any individual institution, but First Financial Bank Shares has been on my list for the 5 years I've done all types of high performance studies, so they're pretty unique. Some of the things that separate them more so than others is they have an outstanding, I know most institutions have fine executive teams, but this one I think is pretty special in the way that they've performed over the years. They have had the ability to kind of keep their expense structure very low, what I call their cost foundation, their interest expense plus their overhead expense. They've kept that very low, and that's enabled them to take less risk. Now, they've also been very active in the merger and acquisition market as an acquirer, and they've actually done an excellent job of making those acquisitions very accretive. That is not an easy thing to do. As I imagine, probably 90% plus of those acquirers out there are having difficulty making those acquisitions accretive. Another of our proven growth performers this year is a very unique institution out of New York City, Signature Bank. They operate in 5 boroughs of New York City. They're about a $20 billion institution, so we haven't had many large institutions of that size that make this list, so it's pretty special if you do make that list. Now, this is a very unique institution. They have a lot of specialty niches. So they are in the private banking business. They have teams of private bankers that help go out, generate loans, they generate deposits, they generate fee income as well. This institution has done this without really an extensive branch infrastructure. They've got less than 25 branches for a bank of $20 billion in asset size. That's pretty extensive. And really, they really don't have a whole lot of employees. Their FTE count is very low. Now, they pay their folks very well, but they have fewer employees. That allows them to have very strong, what I call capacity metrics. So the revenues they generate per employee, the revenues they generate per branch are really one of the best amongst all large institutions out there in the country. So what can bank boards learn from the proven growth performers? One, I think just the easiest thing they can learn is just to keep it simple. Most of these institutions, they don't take excessive risk. They keep it simple, the blocking and tackling of banking. They make loans at reasonable prices. They don't charge the highest rates in terms of their cost of deposits. They know exactly what they're doing in generating consistent revenue streams, and again, don't overreach in terms of risk. And they keep their capacity metrics at a very reasonable level. They pay up for the best people. They hire fewer of them. They don't overextend their branch networks. They only open branches when they need to and generate enough volume at those locations. So really just keeping it simple is the number one thing.